Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine the party is over.
Right.
The music has finally stopped. The guests have all staggered home in the early gray light, and you are left standing in the absolute wreckage of what was arguably the wildest, most violent night of your life.
That is a very evocative image.
There are broken wine glasses everywhere, stains on the carpet that you know are never coming out, and a silence that is almost louder than the noise was just a few hours ago.
And to take it a step further,
Go ahead.
in the world we are discussing today, for this deep dive, it is not just wine stains on the carpet, it is blood.
Yeah.
And the silence isn't peace, it is exhaustion. It is the silence of a graveyard.
Exactly. We are diving into a source that feels exactly like that hangover. It is the morning after the War of the Five Kings.
The bleeding hasn't stopped, but the major battles are technically over.
Right. We are talking about A Feast for Crows novel by George R.R. Martin. And this isn't the high-octane battle sequence we saw in the previous centuries.
Not at all.
This is the grim reality of what happens when the banners are finally put away.
It is a fascinating and honestly a very brave pivot for the author, because most fantasy epics rush you from one cataclysmic battle to the next.
Ramping up the stakes until the world ends.
Exactly. But here he hits the brakes. He forces us to look at the cost of all that violence.
The feast in the title isn't a banquet for kings.
No, it is a feast for the scavengers, the crows, just picking over the corpses of the fallen.
It is grim, but it is where the real human drama is, and we have a unique mission today. We aren't just recapping the plot for you. We are going to explore the power vacuums, the identity crises, and the simmering magic that is starting to creep back into the world while everyone is distracted by politics.
First, I think we have to address the structural elephant in the room.
Or maybe the dragon not in the room.
Right. The geographical split. It is famously controversial, but for the purpose of a deep dive, it is actually incredibly helpful.
Because the story was just getting too massive.
The timeline was too complex. So instead of giving us a little bit of everyone, the author split the narrative by location.
Which means this book covers the South.
King's Landing, the Riverlands, the Iron Islands, and Dorne.
So we should warn you right now, no Jon Snow staring off the wall, no Tyrion Lannister traveling in a crate, and no Daenerys Targaryen ruling in Meereen.
They are paused in time, while we look at the people left behind to pick up the pieces.
It allows for a deep character study. We're getting inside the heads of the winners, specifically the Lannisters, and finding out that winning is actually a lot harder than fighting.
When you strip away the external threats, the internal rot takes over.
So let's start right at the top. The Lion's Den, King's Landing. The context here is crucial because Tywin Lannister is dead.
It is the absolute end of an era. Tywin was the definition of hard power.
The strong hand.
He was the only thing holding the Seven Kingdoms together through sheer force of will and political terror.
And now he is gone. Killed by his own son Tyrion on the toilet, no less.
A very undignified end for a very dignified man.
And the person stepping into that massive power vacuum is Cersei Lannister. Now, usually when a strong leader dies, there is a scramble or a moment of uncertainty. She seems to think this is her moment to finally shine.
Cersei is the primary viewpoint for the chaos in the capital. And what makes her chapters so compelling, and honestly sometimes so excruciating to read, is the massive disconnect between how she sees herself and what she's actually doing.
It is a huge blind spot.
In her internal monologue, she believes she is the true heir to Tywin's brilliance. She thinks she has his hardness, his political acumen.
She dismisses Jaime as a fool.
And Tyrion as a monster.
Yeah.
She thinks she is the one who understands how to rule.
She basically walks around thinking, I'm Tywin with teats. But looking at her actions objectively, it feels like we are watching a car crash in slow motion. She isn't Tywin, is she?
She is the anti-Tywin.
How so?
Well, Tywin was about consolidating power through alliances. He brought the Tyrells into the fold. He managed the Dornish.
Right.
Cersei tries to consolidate power by eliminating anyone she can't completely control. It's a profound study in paranoia and narcissism. She assumes the role of Queen Regent for her young son, King Tommen, but she treats governance like a personal vendetta.
Let's look at her small council. Because usually you would want the smartest people in the room advising you.
You would think so.
If you were insecure in your power, maybe you want strong allies to lean on. Cersei goes the complete opposite direction.
She explicitly thinks that she doesn't need intelligence. She needs obedience.
So she fills the council with lightweight yes men.
Men like Harry Swift and Giles Rosby, men who just cough and agree and take up space.
But the most disturbing addition, and the one that signals just how far off the rails she has gone, is Qyburn.
Qyburn is terrifying.
He is essentially a mad scientist, isn't he? He feels like he belongs in a completely different genre of horror.
He is a disgraced maester. He was stripped of his chain by the Citadel for engaging in necromancy and vivisection.
Vivisection, just to be clear, that is cutting people open while they're alive.
Yes, he calls it the higher mysteries, but essentially he was experimenting on living human beings to see how they worked.
Yeah.
He's a man without any ethical boundaries whatsoever.
And Cersei looks at this guy and says, you know what? You should be my master of whisperers.
It is wild. She allows him to set up in the black cells the dungeons. There is a chilling detail in the text where Qyburn asks for subjects for his experiments.
Oh, I remember this.
He asks for the puppeteers who put on a play mocking the Lannisters.
Yeah.
And Cersei just gives them to him.
Just hands them over.
Later, she gives him her own maid, Snell, because she suspects her of spying.
She just hands people over to be tortured or experimented on. Like, it is a simple transaction.
Yes, and she justifies it as necessary for knowledge. Qyburn claims he is loyal, unlike the gray sheep of the Citadel, as he calls them.
It really shows how far her moral compass has drifted.
She is utilizing a monster because he flatters her. And in doing so, she becomes a monster herself.
It's not just Qyburn, though. There's Orain Waters. This feels like a high school crush gone wrong that somehow impacts national security. It
is pure vanity. Orain Waters is a bastard, a dashing naval adventurer.
But why does Cersei actually like him?
Because he reminds her of Rhaegar Targaryen. He is young, he is handsome, he has that silver gold hair. She is so charmed by him that she makes him the master of ships and gives him the entire royal fleet to command.
A fleet that cost an absolute fortune to build.
A fortune the crown does not have. Which leads us to her biggest blunder, the financial crisis involving the Iron Bank of Braavos and the Faith of the Seven.
Okay, let's unpack this. The crown is broke, right?
Bankrupt. Tywin left a massive debt. The Iron Bank is calling in loans.
So a rational ruler would negotiate, maybe cut costs or raise taxes.
Right, but Cersei just stops paying.
Which is bad enough. The Iron Bank notoriously funds the enemies of those who don't pay.
Exactly. But she also owes a massive amount to the Faith.
And this is where she makes the deal with the High Sparrow. This feels like the moment where the history books would say, and then she lost.
The High Sparrow is a completely new kind of player. He is a fanatic. He is not like the corrupt High Septons of the past who ate roast boar and wore fine silk.
He walks barefoot.
His feet are calloused and hard, and he actually feeds the poor. Cersei thinks she can manipulate him because he looks like a beggar.
So, to get him to forgive the crown's debt and bless Tommen, she agrees to repeal the laws that Maegor the Cruel instituted centuries ago.
The laws that forbade the Faith from having an army.
She rearms the Faith militant.
Precisely. The Sparrows, these religious zealots, are given the legal right to bear arms and pass judgment.
She thinks she is gaining a private army that will be loyal to the crown because she allowed it.
But historically, Maegor disarmed them because they were a direct threat to the king. She is undoing centuries of established Targaryen policy just to save some gold.
She is handing a sword to a fanatic who answers only to the gods, not to her.
She is so focused on the short-term financial gain that she completely ignores the catastrophic long-term threat.
Yeah.
It is a historical blunder of epic proportions.
She assumes that because she gave them the swords, they will point them where she points.
She doesn't realize she has created an independent power block that can judge her.
And why is she doing all this? It is not just bad management. It feels driven by intense fear.
It is the prophecy. She is absolutely haunted by a prophecy from her childhood, that a younger, more beautiful queen will come to cast her down and take all she holds dear.
And she is convinced this is Margaery Tyrell Tommen's young wife.
Yes, Margaery, who is, by all accounts, just trying to be nice to her.
In Cersei's eyes, every smile from Margaery is a smirk. Every single kindness is a hidden plot.
She sees Margaery gaining influence over Tommen, giving him kittens, encouraging him to sit a horse, and Cersei sees her own power slipping away.
So she constructs this elaborate plot to frame Margaery for adultery.
Using the Blue Bard and Osney Kettleblack. It is a clumsy, brutal scheme. She has the Blue Bard tortured until he literally invents a list of Margaery's lovers.
And she convinces Osney Kettleblack to seduce Margaery, or at least publicly claim he did.
She is so obsessed with destroying this perceived rival that she completely fails to see she is digging her own grave.
She is arming the very faith that will eventually judge her.
It is almost Shakespearean. She creates the instrument of her own downfall.
But while Cersei is unraveling in the Red Keep, her twin brother Jaime is out in the Riverlands, and he seems to be on a very different trajectory.
He is. If Cersei is the study of a rapid descent into madness, Jaime is a study in a complicated, stalled redemption.
He is sent to end the siege of River Run.
The war is technically over, but the Blackfish, Brynden Tully, is still holding the castle.
Right. And contrast Jaime's approach with Cersei's. Cersei would want him to storm the castle, kill everyone, burn it down to the ground.
But Jaime wants to keep his word. He swore an oath to Catelyn Stark that he wouldn't take up arms against the Tullys or Starks. He is actively trying to resolve this without bloodshed.
He is trying to be a diplomat, which is brand new for him.
It is. He uses threats, yes. He threatens Edmure Tully with a trebuchet and threatens to launch Edmure's pregnant wife's child into the castle.
But it is a bluff.
It is a bluff to force a surrender. He wants a peaceful resolution because he's trying to figure out who he is without his sword hand.
He can't just fight his way out of problems anymore, so he has to think his way out.
There was that pivotal moment with his aunt, Jenna Lannister,
Yeah.
that seemed to really shake him to his core.
Oh, that is a devastating line. Jenna is a very sharp woman. She tells him outright Tyrion is Tywin's son, not you.
That has to hurt. Jaime always saw himself as the heir of the Golden Lion.
It cuts right to the core. Jaime has always thought of himself as the ultimate warrior.
But Jenna sees that the intellect, the ruthlessness, the political mind of Tywin that went to the dwarf. Jaime is something else entirely.
And frankly, in this tech, Jaime is becoming a better man than Tywin ever was.
He is rejecting the pure brutality. He is finding a sense of personal justice that Tywin never, ever had.
And he is rejecting Cersei.
Finally. That is the absolute climax of his arc in the source material. He receives a frantic letter from Cersei.
Because she is in trouble. Her schemes have backfired. The Faith has arrested her.
And she writes, I love you, I love you, I love you. Come save me.
And what does he do?
He doesn't ride to her. He just throws the letter into the fire and watches it burn. He doesn't answer.
It is the severing of the toxic bond.
He realizes she has been using him, manipulating him their whole lives. He is finally choosing his own honor over her. It is a really powerful moment of liberation.
While Jaime's dealing with the High Lords, we have another character wandering the Riverlands who gives us a completely different perspective. Brienne of Tarth.
Brienne's chapters are sometimes criticized for being slow, but thematically they are the beating heart of A Feast for Crows.
She is on a quest that we, the audience, know is futile.
She is looking for Sansa Stark, a maid of 3 and 10 based on completely false information. She is literally walking in the wrong direction.
But the journey matters much more than the destination here, Racely. She's seeing the aftermath we talked about in the intro.
Exactly. She is walking through the graveyards of the war. She sees the small folk, the burnt villages, the sparrows marching along the roads.
And she is accompanied by Podrick Payne, Tyrion's old squire.
And Sir Hyle Hint. A mismatched group if there ever was one. But this journey leads us to what might be the most important speech in the entire book.
The Broken Man speech by Septon Maribald.
Yes. If you take one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this. Brienne and her group are traveling with a wandering Septon named Maribald. They are discussing outlaws, and someone asks if a broken man is the same thing as an outlaw.
And Maribald stops and explains the fundamental difference.
He describes the common soldier. Not the knights and the fancy songs, but the simple peasant boys. They are taken from their homes, given a spear, and marched off to fight for lords they don't even know.
For causes they don't understand at all.
He talks about the brutal physical reality of it. They march, they starve, their shoes fall apart, they drink bad water, they see their friends die of the flux.
And eventually they break.
They aren't evil men. They were just terrified animals trying to survive in a nightmare. They steal to eat. They kill to live.
Maribald says war makes monsters of us all.
It is a profound deconstruction of the glory of war. The author is saying this is what happens to the people who aren't playing the Game of Thrones. They just get crushed.
It is a radical shift in perspective for the fantasy genre as a whole.
It is heartbreaking. And Brienne's story doesn't end well in this book, does it?
No, it is a brutal cliffhanger. She runs into the Brotherhood without banners, but this isn't the noble Brotherhood from the earlier stories.
They are now led by Lady Stoneheart,
Who is implied to be
the resurrected, vengeful corpse of Catelyn Stark.
She puts Brienne on trial for betrayal because Brienne is carrying a Lannister sword and a letter signed by King Tommen.
Brienne tries to explain, she tries to make her understand, but Stoneheart is completely beyond reason. She demands Brienne choose sword or noose.
Kill Jaime Lannister or hang.
And Brienne refuses to choose until the very bitter end.
She is hanging. She is dying.
She sees Podrick kicking at the end of a rope, an innocent boy being killed simply for her honor, And the text says she screamed a word, just one single word.
And we don't know what it is.
Not in this text, but it was enough to cut her down. It is a chilling end to her journey in this volume, forced to compromise her absolute rigid morality to save an innocent life.
She has entered the gray area she tried so hard to avoid.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. We have been in the river mud and the Red Keep. But the world is getting bigger. We have to talk about the Ironborn.
The Iron Islands. A very hard place for hard people. And it is in complete political turmoil. King Balon Greyjoy is dead.
Fell off a bridge during a massive storm.
Suspicious.
Incredibly suspicious, because the very next day, his exiled brother, Euron Crowseye, sails into the harbor and claims the throne.
Euron is a lot to handle. He is not just a pirate, is he?
No. He is a full-blown nihilist. He is a sorcerer pirate. He has been to the ruins of Valyria, or at least he claims to have been.
He drinks Shade of the Evening, which turns his lips blue.
And he has a ship called the Silence, because he literally cut the tongues out of the entire crew so they couldn't tell his secrets.
That is pure nightmare fuel. So Balon is dead, Euron is back, but not everyone agrees he should be king.
Right. Aaron Damfair, the priest, calls for a king's moot. It is an ancient tradition to elect a new king. This is a brilliant bit of world building by Martin. We really get to see the underlying politics of the Ironborn.
We have three main contenders. Victarion, the big brother, who is a great warrior, but maybe not the sharpest axe in the shed.
He is a brute. He just wants to continue the old ways of reaving, but he's easily manipulated.
Then there's Asha Greyjoy, Balon's daughter. She is the pragmatist.
She brings chests of pine cones and stones to the king's moot to show them what the North is actually worth, which is nothing.
She says, let's stop dying for rocks. Let's make peace, get some actual land and trade.
Peace and pine cones. It makes perfect logical sense.
And the Ironborn reject it completely.
They don't want peace. They want glory and plunder. And then Euron steps up.
And he definitely doesn't bring pine cones.
He brings a horn. A massive twisted horn, banded with red gold and Valyrian steel. When he has one of his men blow it, the sound is described as a shriek of 1,000 souls.
It silences everyone.
It literally burns the lungs of the man who blows it. His lips blisters, his chest bleeds, and he collapses.
And Euron claims this horn can bind dragons.
Yes, I am the storm, he says. He promises them not just the North, but the entire world. He says, I know where there are dragons. We will take them and we will conquer Westeros.
It is seductive, megalomaniacal, and completely effective. He wins the crown.
So now we have a sorcerer king with a dragon-binding horn in command of the massive Iron Fleet actively raiding the Reach. That is a massive game changer.
While Cersei is worrying about Marguerite Terrell, Euron is actually invading the Reach, threatening Old Town.
He represents the return of the magical apocalyptic threat that all the political players are just ignoring.
Meanwhile, down in the south, in Dorne, things are heating up too.
Dorne is fascinating because it is the opposite of the rest of Westeros in many ways. Women have more rights. The culture is totally different. But they are furious right now.
Because Oberyn Martell the Red Viper went to King's Landing and got his head crushed by the mountain.
And his bastard daughters, the Sand Snakes, want blood.
They are clamoring for open war. But the ruler of Dorne, Prince Doran Martell, Oberyn's older brother, seems totally passive.
He is old. He has
Right.
terrible gout. He just sits in his water gardens watching children play. He locks up the Sand Snakes just to keep the peace.
His niece, Arianne Martell, thinks he is incredibly weak. She decides to take matters into her own hands.
She hatches a bold plot to crown Myrcella Baratheon. Myrcella is Tommen's older sister, who is sent to Dorne for safety.
And under Dornish law, an older sister inherits before a younger brother.
Exactly. Arianne wants to crown Myrcella Queen of the Seven Kingdoms to intentionally force a war with the Lannisters.
But it goes wrong.
Horribly wrong. Someone betrays them. Ariohoda, Doran's captain of guards, intercepts them in the desert.
There is a brief confrontation.
And Aerys Oakheart, a Kingsguard knight who was sleeping with Arianne, charges Hota.
It is basically suicide by axe.
Pretty much. Hota kills him instantly. The plot is totally foiled. Arianne is locked up in a tower. But this leads to the big reveal.
The moment where Doran finally drops the mask.
Yes. Arianne confronts her father, accusing him of being a coward. And Doran reveals that he isn't passive at all. He's been playing the long game. The very long game.
He delivers one of the best lines in the book. Vengeance. Justice. Fire and blood.
Fire and blood, that is the Targaryen words.
He reveals he has been secretly plotting to restore the Targaryens for years. He had a secret pact to marry Arianne to Viserys Targaryen.
When Viserys died, the plan shifted. He is not a coward. He's a master planner who waits for the fruit to be perfectly ripe before he plucks it.
It completely recontextualizes everything we thought we knew about Dorne.
I love that twist. It shows that while Cersei is playing checkers really badly, Dorne is playing 4D chess.
But even master planners can miss their window. The fruit might overripen. That is the tragedy Dorne risks by waiting so long.
Let's shift gears to identity. A major theme in this book is people pretending to be someone else. We have Arya Stark, who is barely Arya anymore.
Arya is in Bravos at the House of Black and White.
She's training to be a faceless man, an elite assassin. But the training requires her to become no one.
She has to strip away her entire identity.
Literally. She has to give up her clothes, her possessions. But she can't quite give up everything.
There is that touching moment where she hides her sword needle under a loose stone rather than throwing it into the canal.
Needle is her tangible connection to Jon Snow, to Winterfell, to Arya Stark. She clings to that last thread of self.
But she is deeply learning their philosophy. Valar Morghulis.
All men must die. They see death as a gift. It is a mercy to end suffering.
It is a very different view of death than we see in Westeros, where it is violent and feared. Here, it is almost a sacrament.
And then we have her sister Sansa, or should I say Elaine Stone.
Sansa is hiding in plain sight in the Vale, posing as Littlefinger's bastard daughter, and this is a crucial evolution for her character.
She is no longer the victim being beaten by Joffrey's guards. She is becoming a player in the game.
She is learning directly from Littlefinger.
She's managing a household. She is manipulating the Lords Declarant, these powerful lords who want to oust Littlefinger.
She charms them. She plays the role of the dutiful, innocent daughter perfectly.
She is really beginning to understand the mechanics of political manipulation.
It is like she is in graduate school for political intrigue.
And Littlefinger is the professor. He reveals his grand plans to her, how he plans to marry her to Harry the Heir, who is next in line for the Vale.
If sweet Robin Arryn were to die,
Sansa would control the North and the Vale. It is a terrifying amount of power potential.
it is. But speaking of disguises, we have to talk about the prologue. We start in Old Town with a novice named Pate.
The prologue is an absolute masterclass in mystery. Pate is a distinctively unspecial guy. He is stealing a master key for a mysterious man called the Alchemist.
The alchemist claims he can turn iron into gold. But what he really wants is a key that opens every single door in the Citadel.
And the physical description of the Alchemist is very specific. A young man with a hooked nose, thick black hair.
Pate gives him the key, bites the gold coin he is given, and dies. Poisoned.
But here's the kicker. Pate shows up later in the book.
When Samwell Tarly arrives in Old Town at the very end of the novel, he is greeted by Pate.
So, the Alchemist stole Pate's face.
That is the heavy implication. And remember, Jaqen Hgar, the faceless man Arya met.
When he changed his face at Harrenhal, the description matches the Alchemist perfectly. So we have a faceless man infiltrating the center of knowledge in Westeros.
Why? What do they want in the Citadel?
That is the big, terrifying question. The key opens the deepest vaults. What is in the vaults? Books on dragons. Information on the death of dragons.
It implies a massive conspiracy involving the faceless men and possibly the maesters themselves.
Which brings us nicely to Samwell Tarly. He is sent to Old Town to become a maester.
Jon Snow sends him away to protect Mance Rayder's son, who they swapped with Gilly's baby. He travels with Maester Aemon.
And this journey is deeply tragic because we lose Aemon.
The death of the old guard.
Aemon Targaryen. He is over 100 years old. He is the living memory of the Age of Dragons. And as they travel south by sea, he becomes delirious.
He hears the rumors about Daenerys and her dragons.
And he realizes she is the prince that was promised. He laments that he is too old to help her. Fire cannot kill a dragon, he says, but cold does kill an old man.
It is so sad. He dies alone, far from his family, just missing the return of the magic he studied his whole life.
But his death perfectly sets up Sam's arrival in Old Town. Sam meets Marwyn the Mage.
Marwyn is not your typical maester. He looks like a mastiff. He hangs out in the Undercity.
And he has a glass candle burning in his study.
Okay, glass candles. These are really important.
Crucial. They are obsidian candles from Valyria. They haven't burned in thousands of years, but now they are lit.
This is the definitive proof that magic has fully returned to the world.
Marwyn tells Sam a dark secret. The maesters, the Grey Sheep, have been actively suppressing magic. They killed the dragons.
They want a world of logic and reason, not prophecy and monsters.
That is a bombshell. The maesters aren't just peaceful librarians. They are active agents in demagicking the world.
And now that magic is back, Marwyn knows he has to get to Daenerys before the Citadel does. He leaves immediately, leaving Sam alone.
With Pate, the faceless man.
Talk about walking into the lion's den. Sam is now right in the middle of a silent war between the maesters, the faceless men, and the returning tide of magic.
So let's try to pull this all together. What does this all mean for the big picture?
A Feast for Crows is a tragedy about governance and consequence. In King's Landing, we see the total self-destruction of Cersei through sheer incompetence and paranoia.
In the Riverlands, we see the broken men and the sheer devastation of the small folk, the true victims of the Game of Thrones.
In Dorne and the Iron Islands, we see new powers rising from the ashes, hungry for more war.
And underneath it all, while everyone is squabbling over who sits on the Iron Throne, the real power magic is waking up.
Precisely. The glass candles are burning. The dragon horn is blowing. The dead are literally walking with Lady Stoneheart.
The Game of Thrones is being played by people who don't realize the fundamental rules have changed. They are fighting over a fancy chair while the house is starting to catch fire.
It really makes you wonder. We obsess over the kings and queens, Tom and Euron Stannis, but are they the ones actually in charge?
That is the profound question the author leaves us with. Is the person on the throne the real ruler, or is it the people in the shadows?
Littlefinger manipulating the veil. Doran Martell plotting in secret for decades. The faceless men infiltrating the citadel. Marwyn the mage.
The real power seems to be moving away from the throne and into the dark corners.
And that is a terrifying thought for you to consider. The players we see might just be puppets.
And the puppet masters are playing a much more dangerous game.
We didn't even touch on Jon or Dany today, but their absence really hangs over this whole book like a storm cloud.
The next deep dive, theoretically, would cover their side of the timeline in the companion novel.
And believe me, if you think things are chaotic in the South, wait until you see what is happening at the Wall and in Meereen.
I can't wait. But for now, we leave Westeros in a very precarious state. The snow is starting to fall in King's Landing. Winter is coming.
And the crows are feasting.
On that cheerful note, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into A Feast for Crows novel by George R.R. Martin.
It is a dense, beautiful, frustrating, and absolutely brilliant book.
A complete masterpiece of character work and world building.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening. Keep your eyes on the shadows and always watch out for quiet men with keys. We will see you next time.